Pre-game, post-game, every game. Presented by Bodog. Make a play at Canada's choice for free casino games, sports odds, and poker strategies. Wadden and JPat here with you with another edition of the pre-game on a very special night at Rogers Arena. JPat, as they'll honor Kevin Bieksa, the former Canucks great, who, by the way, took the morning skate this morning.
Yeah, how about that? This is great. Bring him back. Let him have a night. Fans at Rogers Arena can salute him and celebrate him. His one-day contract. He can officially retire now. Hadn't filed those papers with the National Hockey League. But it's great. This was supposed to happen a couple of years ago, and then COVID hit. And so to have the Canucks and the Anaheim Ducks, the two teams that the guy they call Juice played for in his National Hockey League career, on the ice together, and I just think it'll be a lot of fun. I hope that they let Kevin Bieksa work the microphone and salute the fans that supported him. Of course, he was such a part of that 2011 team, the greatest team in Vancouver Canuck history, that got to within one game of winning it all, and of course, it was his goal in overtime against San Jose that punched the ticket to the Stanley Cup final that year. So, I think it's great, and it was fun to see him back on skates, even if it was only for a few moments. It's only one day, so Canuck fans, if they were getting their hopes up that somehow he was coming out of retirement to suit up, look, both the Canucks and the Ducks could probably use Kevin Bieksa, even at this advanced age, but he's not playing in this game, but it is a night devoted to his honor.
Yeah, two struggling teams on the ice tonight. Canucks sitting 32nd in the league. The Ducks at 28th. No Brock Boeser at the morning skate. Sheldon Dries was recalled in some interesting D pairings.
Yeah, this is unfortunate because I think a lot of us thought that Brock Boeser was going to come back in time for the game against New Jersey. And when he didn't play in that one, you thought, okay, a couple more days rest. He'll be good to go against Anaheim. But it looks like he will continue his stint on the injured list. And that's unfortunate for him because now this is becoming a growing concern for Brock Boeser. Injuries have sort of been a part of his story throughout his time in the National Hockey League. This was the year that he wanted to score 30. The team wanted him to score 30. And he is sitting without a goal and has been on the shelf now for a couple of weeks. So unfortunate for him, but interesting that the Canucks dip into the farm and bring Sheldon Dries back. And so he goes from Abbotsford to the third-line center position, which the other night was the domain of Jack Studnicka, one of the newcomers. Studnicka's going to stay in the lineup, but it looks like he drops to the fourth line and is going to slide over to the wing. So I thought that was curious that Sheldon Dries goes from the minors to the third-line center position, and it looks like he'll get some power play time as well on the second unit for the Vancouver Canucks. And then you talk about those defense pairings, Andrew, and we know that defense has been a concern. It remains a concern. They got Quinn Hughes back the other night. Ethan Bear, he made his Canuck debut. They'll both remain in the lineup. In fact, team's going to use the same six defensemen as it used in that loss to the New Jersey Devils, but the switch comes a little bit lower in the lineup in as much as Quinn Hughes will stay with Luke Schenn to start the hockey game, but it looks like Riley Stillman will be paired with Tyler Myers, and that'll leave OEL and Ethan Bear. So a different look on defense. Remember that there hasn't been a lot of practice time. Wednesday was a day off, and so for a guy like Ethan Bear, worked the rust off in his Canuck debut, but played primarily with Riley Stillman the other night, although Luke Schenn got thrown out of that hockey game, so they were down to 5 defensemen, but a new defense partner for Ethan Bear. So we'll see if he's a quick study and how he looks in his second game. And I do think that there's a fair bit of heat right now on guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers, the veterans. They're splitting those two up because their performances warranted that they split those two up. But again, another night that goes by with Kyle Burroughs and Jack Rathbone on the outside looking in.
Going to be a changing goal as well. Thatcher Demko going to be the backup tonight. Spencer Martin going to get his third start of the year.
Yeah, Thatcher Demko, the Southern California guy, but he's going to sit and watch as Spencer Martin faces one of these teams from Southern California. I don't mind this decision. Spencer Martin's been good in the 2 games that he has played in. He got the overtime loss, but he delivered a single point in his season debut in Columbus, and then, of course, was between the pipes in the Canucks' best effort of the year, start to finish, top to bottom, and that was the 5-1 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. So the Canucks have 6 points on the season. Spencer Martin has delivered 3 of those on his own, and we know that Thatcher Demko isn't at the top of his game. Canucks do have to work and manage his workload, and so whether this was a scheduled start or whether this was a start that was earned based on his performance, whatever the case, the team should have confidence in Spencer Martin. He seems to have confidence when he's in there, and this is an Anaheim team that is there for the getting for the Vancouver Canucks, but at the same time, the Canucks can't afford to take anybody lightly. In fact, when you are 32nd in the National Hockey League, you don't look down on anybody in the standings. The Canucks are a single point back of the Ducks. So, again, Anaheim's had its issues, but they come in on a 2-game win streak. We know that the Canucks had won 2 in a row before the loss the other night to the New Jersey Devils. So, a chance for Vancouver with a win, to at least feel like, and they would be right in saying that they had won 3 of 4, but we can't give them that one until they go out and earn it. So let's see what happens. But it's there for the taking for the Canucks to try to get this moving in the right direction again. And Spencer Martin's going to get the nod. I don't mind this decision on the part of Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah, the Ducks bleed a lot of shots, but the Canucks cannot afford to play run and gun with Anaheim. They got to keep structure like they did in that big win over Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the structure was there, and you thought, okay, maybe they have turned a corner. And then you saw what happened against a Jersey team that strikes with speed and has some top-end talent. Every team in the league has high-end skill, and the Anaheim Ducks are no different. I mean, they're just for years, for a generation, when you've thought of the Anaheim Ducks, you've thought of Ryan Getzlaf. Of course, nobody plays forever. He has stepped away, and so they're very much a team in transition. They still got some familiar faces, Adam Henrique and Jakob Silfverberg, but of course, they're trying to transition to some of those younger players, led by Trevor Zegras, one of the most dynamic young forwards in the National Hockey League. Troy Terry is their leading scorer. Mason McTavish will get there. He's off to a little bit of a slow start, but they've got young talent. But right now, there's sort of this mix of veterans that are sort of holding positions and trying to hold down the fort and allow those young players to come along. But you saw what happened the other night in San Jose. If a game gets opened up wide, there's enough high-end skill on every team in the NHL, and Anaheim ends up beating the Sharks 6-5 in a shootout as they went back and forth, run and gun. I don't think the Canucks want to play that way because ultimately Anaheim does struggle for the most part to put pucks in the net. In fact, they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the National Hockey League coming into this one, a 6-5 win the other night notwithstanding. So I think for the Canucks, you want to make the Ducks earn everything. You want to try to keep it at 5-on-5. If you take penalties against Anaheim, their power play is dead last in the National Hockey League, under 10%. That's an area that I do think the Canucks can exploit this Anaheim team tonight. If it gets into a special teams battle, these are the 2 worst penalty-killing teams in the National Hockey League. Misery loves company in that regard. Canucks are 32nd in the NHL at 60% of the penalty kill. The Ducks are only a few percentage points better. But when it comes to the power play, Anaheim in single digits, just 2 power play goals on the season. And we know that the Vancouver Canucks power play is red hot right now and has worked itself into the top 5 in the National Hockey League. So if there is a big difference between these two teams, it comes on the power play. And we'll see if the Canucks can use that to their advantage to try to get this victory here tonight over the Ducks.
Yeah, the Canucks power play has been red hot, but it's 5-on-5 play where really they've got to improve.
And remember the first 5 games of the season, that 5-game road trip to start, we all commended the Canucks at 5-on-5. At even strength, they were fine. It was that the power play was scuffling to get any traction going. And oh yeah, that penalty kill. We spent too much time talking about the penalty kill, but the penalty kill was letting the Canucks down. And of course, the power play was giving up shorthanded goals, or at least it did in the first couple of games of the season. Did again the other night against New Jersey. So that's a little bit of a wart on the Canucks power play. But for the most part, power play is coming along right now. But that is sort of masking this scoring or this deficit of scoring at even strength. Bo Horvat's going right now. We'll talk a little bit more about the captain coming up here in a moment. But really beyond Bo Horvat, there just isn't enough from the Vancouver Canucks. And so that win against Pittsburgh, you saw them spread the scoring around a little bit. Kuzmenko got a goal. Tanner Pearson scored his first goal of the season. You'd like to see the Canucks spread the wealth of scoring just a little bit more. Elias Pettersson has played well, but hasn't really had a dominant game here. I guess you go back to the Seattle game, and they won that one. Feels like a lifetime ago, but you'd like to see a little bit more from Elias Pettersson. You'd certainly like to see more from some of the guys a little bit lower in the lineup. But you know, the power play to me, I think will win the Canucks some hockey games along the way. But so much of the game, the bulk of the game, is still played at even strength, and you have to be better than your opponent in that area of the game. I think the Canucks have taken a step back. They've been outshot by a wide margin by a lot of opponents. New Jersey was the latest, but before that, Carolina, Seattle last week as well. Even in a Canuck victory, the Canucks got outshot by a 2-1 margin by the Seattle Kraken. So when you said, don't get into a run and gun, that's what happened in Seattle. And they were able to come out with a victory. They beat the Kraken 5-4 that night, but don't lose sight of the fact that they scored 4 goals on 18 shots on Martin Jones. You're not going to find that kind of goaltending in the National Hockey League on most nights. So that's why I say for the Canucks, try to buckle it down, find that structure that served them so well against the Pittsburgh Penguins last week.
My best bet, my Bodog best bet, is centered around goal scoring, as I've got Trevor Zegras of the Anaheim Ducks at plus 200 anytime goal scorer. He's torched the Canucks so far early on in his career. 3 games played, 6 points. He's got 6 goals this year. I'm looking for young Zegras to light the lamp tonight for the Ducks.
Yeah, and I think if Anaheim's going to have success, it's going to come on the back of a player like Trevor Zegras. So I like that bet. You need to get things moving in the right direction when it comes to your best bets. You started off so strong, you faded a little bit, but I like this one. And I'm sure the Canucks will try to devise some sort of game plan to keep an eye on Trevor Zegras and Troy Terry. Frank Vetrano was a guy that they went out and signed in the offseason. He's got 4 goals for them as well. But as we said, overall as a team, they struggle. So if you can keep those 3 guys that we just mentioned in check, it certainly, I think, it helps the Canucks' chances of coming out with a victory in this hockey game tonight.
Now, I expect Trevor Zegras to do something tonight. Who do you want, though, to do something from the Canucks?
Well, a lot of times my do-something guy is a player that hasn't achieved, that you're looking at and you're thinking he's overdue, he's got to get on his horse and get going here. But there are times where you just want to ride a hot hand, and that's where I'm going tonight. Maybe it's an easy choice, maybe it's low-hanging fruit, but Bo Horvat's been doing an awful lot for the Vancouver Canucks. It doesn't show in the wins and losses, and I know I asked him after the game the other night, would you trade all your individual goals for a few more wins? And he said, absolutely. But the captain is getting it done, and it's fascinating in a contract year that he's got 8 goals in the first 10 games, and half of those 8 have come in the last 2 outings alone. Back-to-back 2-goal games against the Pittsburgh Penguins and the other night against the New Jersey Devils. So the captain is rolling right now. 10 points in the 10 games that he has played. He's tied for the team lead. And I just want to see more from Bo Horvat. So it's not like he has to do something to bump the slump here. But I've got confidence in him that if the Canucks are going to have some success, he'll play a role in this. So I'm going to kind of go with the hot hand here. And Bo Horvat is my do-something candidate for the Vancouver Canucks against Anaheim tonight.
Keep it rolling, Bo. Do you agree with JPat's do-something candidate? Leave it in the comments below. And where are you at right now with this Canucks team? We'd love to hear from you. Of course, we'll have the post-game podcast for you available as quick as we can after the final horn. Should be a good one tonight, JPat. A couple of struggling teams, but guess what? Somebody is going to get a W. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Paterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is a show that always scores.